2 nights ago, a brand new homemade Ukrainian ballistic missile soared nearly 300 kilometers behind Russian lines and crushed a high-value command post inside Moscow-controlled territory, obliterating senior officers and intelligence staff. This isn't a prototype, it's serially built with a 400 kg warhead and pinpoint precision that rivals US ATACMS. While Kyiv claims it's a breakthrough, Russia calls it a strategic escalation. This strike redefines the front line, putting Putin's inner circle squarely in Ukraine's crosshairs. Since Russia's full-scale invasion in 2022, the war has evolved into a brutal war of attrition. Over the past year alone, Moscow has launched more than 300 drones and dozens of ballistic missiles, slamming into cities like Kharkiv and Kyiv. Civilian casualties have mounted. Ukraine's air defenses, though improved, have been stretched thin, trying to intercept these relentless waves. Kyiv's Western allies have helped, but systems like ATACMS remain politically sensitive and slow to arrive. That's why Ukraine built its own missile codenamed Hrib. This homegrown system isn't just firepower, it's a declaration of independence. And when it leveled a key Russian HQ, it sent a jolt through Moscow's war doctrine. The Hrib-2 missile is Ukraine's most significant weapons breakthrough since the start of the war. Launched into development in 2022 under wartime urgency, it completed successful testing in the summer of 2024. By June 2025, it entered serial production. With a range of nearly 300 kilometers, a 400 kilogram high-explosive warhead, and real-time precision guidance, it's already being compared to and even called bigger than the American ATACMS. Unlike outdated Soviet-era systems or restricted Western imports, Hrib-2 is fully Ukrainian. Engineers replaced aging tech with modern avionics and guidance systems capable of matching and possibly outperforming Russia's own Iskander missiles. Military analysts agree, Ukraine has moved from defense to offense. This isn't just survival, it's strategic transformation. T-10 minutes, a Ukrainian mobile launcher rumbles into position deep in a wooded area, 50 kilometers behind the front, camouflaged and silent. The crew works fast. At T-2 minutes, targeting data streams in from high-altitude drones and Western-fed satellite intel. Coordinates are locked. At T-30 seconds, the crew braces eyes on monitors, breath held. Then ignition. A fireball tears through the mist as the Hrib-2 arcs skyward, disappearing into the clouds before plunging at hypersonic speed. It strikes a Russian HQ tucked inside a logistics compound near Tokmak. The explosion rocks the area. Windows shatter for blocks, roof beams collapse inward, troops scatter in confusion. HQ is hit, command link down, repeat, command link down. Ukrainian intelligence confirms multiple senior officers killed. Russia's battlefield coordination in that sector immediately disintegrates. Inside the mobile launcher, the Ukrainian fire control officer whispered, "I thought the launch would fail." His hands trembled as the missile vanished into the sky. Moments later, cheers erupted. One operator cried, "We did it, we hit them hard." Across the lines, Russian defenders were stunned. "We saw it coming," one soldier said, but there was no time to react. An eyewitness described pure chaos. They couldn't hear orders. The officers were just gone. As Ukrainian crews celebrated a hard-won success, Russian troops scrambled in confusion, their chain of command shattered in seconds. In Kyiv, the strike was met with celebration. President Zelensky called the Hrib-2 a symbol of sovereignty, declaring it a turning point in Ukraine's ability to defend itself without relying entirely on Western arms. Ukrainian officials framed it as a message: the country now has its own deterrent. Moscow's reaction was swift. The Kremlin labeled the strike a grave provocation and promised retaliation. Yet even pro-Russian military analysts admitted that current defenses are ill-equipped to stop this kind of attack. In NATO capitals, concern over missile proliferation clashed with admiration for Ukraine's ingenuity. Meanwhile, inside Russia, paranoia spread. Rear area defenses were suddenly reinforced, command posts moved, and morale shaken. The Crim 2 represents more than firepower, it marks a technological leap. By integrating drone-based targeting, a mobile hybrid launcher, and fully domestic electronics, Ukraine can now strike deep into enemy territory without relying on NATO satellites or imported systems. This autonomy is critical. On the battlefield, it shifts the equation. Ukraine can now hit logistics depots, supply hubs, and command posts up to 300 kilometers away. Military analysts are already calling it strategic artillery, not just a missile. For Russia, this means old doctrines are obsolete. Rear zones are no longer safe. Everything troop planning, equipment dispersal, camouflage, and air defense must now be rethought under the shadow of a missile. Ukraine controls entirely. Diplomatic shockwaves followed the strike. Russia accused Ukraine and by extension its Western backers of crossing a red line. The rhetoric turned aggressive, with veiled threats of escalation. In Berlin and Washington, officials walked a careful line. Publicly, they denied supplying similar systems. Privately, they were relieved. Kyiv no longer needed to wait on Allied approvals. Still, the move raised urgent question. Could this provoke a Russian nuclear response? Was arms control slipping away? Experts warned every ground war involving ballistic missiles pushes the region closer to wider conflict. With each successful strike, the stakes are no longer just tactical. They're existential. The ripple effects have been immediate and far-reaching. Russia has rushed to deploy additional air defense systems in Belarus and western regions, stretching troops and budgets already under pressure. The strike has alarmed military planners globally. Taiwan, South Korea, and India are now accelerating their own indigenous missile programs, seeing Ukraine's success as a model. Inside Ukraine, defense factories are expanding rapidly. The war economy is shifting. Missile production is now a cornerstone of national resilience. Diplomatically, pressure is rising. NATO's June summit may formally acknowledge Ukraine's strategic arsenal, a move likely to provoke an aggressive response from Moscow. On the ground, the contrast is stark, a wave of morale surging through Ukraine, while panic and disarray unsettle Russian rear units and European capitals alike. Ukraine just triggered a paradigm shift. The Crim 2 isn't some prototype, it's operational, lethal, and reshaping the battlefield in real time. But now the question looms: how will Moscow respond? With equal force, or something far worse? The prospect of full-scale missile exchanges is no longer theory. It's a looming possibility. As military planners scramble and alliances shift, Ukrainian citizens and troops brace for impact. This war is evolving fast, and the next move could change everything. Don't miss what comes next. Subscribe, turn on notifications, because this conflict is entering its most volatile and unpredictable chapter.